All right, let's bring our guy Tom Murphy in here to the Morning Rush. Tom, I thought you asked one of the best questions in the press conference of Lane Kiffin's yesterday, asking him about position groups. Hey, Lane, is there potential that you guys won't have enough in a certain group to play? Is this Lane just kind of stoking the fire? Or, Tom, do you think there's serious concerns down in Oxford that they might not have the guys to participate in the game on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they would mess around with the fact that, yes, we have COVID numbers. The conference office, I'm sure, demands a little bit more specificity when it comes to total scholarship numbers and the mandatory minimums for the position groups. But he wasn't giving anything away. And let's just say Ole Miss shows up on Saturday and the game's going to be played. Their beat writers are going to be able to scan the field and say, oh, yeah, they're hurting at X position. You know, is it D-line? Is it secondary? We don't know. But if they've got some cases on the team, they've got to meet the certain minimums at certain positions. And, you know, it's a real thing. I mean, you guys, if we ever turn to a new era in college football, we flip the page from 2020, we're going to look back on this season as one like we've never had before. The fact that Nick Saban has COVID-19 is just totally in stride. If it had popped up out of the blue last year, he's got some virus, that would have been huge news. But this is just normal stuff now.
Tom, when you look at this football game, Ole Miss is probably going to deal with some issues as well as Arkansas. I don't know if Arkansas is going to be as much COVID-related as it is injury-related. Now, I've gotten some texts this morning off the air about certain guys that might not be playing. Tom, what is the latest you're hearing with your sources about guys that are going to be a go and not going to be a go for Saturday?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're hearing some names of guys who've been banged up and who may not be ready to go. From the positive side of things, it feels like Rakeem Boyd will be over his ankle and could play. Traylon Burks, I'm assuming that's the knee that he had a surgery on a couple of years ago in high school that's just sore. And guys like Dorian Gerald do not know how long he'll be out. We know that Bumper Pools had the shoulder in 2 separate games. You know, how's he recovering from that? It is basically affecting, other than, say, Felipe at quarterback, who took a hard shot against Mississippi State, it's affecting almost every position group on the team. And so whereas Ole Miss's numbers are going to be certainly impacted by COVID, Arkansas will be impacted by injury.
Tom, when you look at Felipe Franks, you bring him up, 22 of 30, 318 yards. I think we would call that a breakout game that he had against Auburn last week. This seems like another week that's set up for him to take a step forward statistically, build some more confidence. What should we expect this week from Felipe Franks, who has struggled up until the point of the Auburn game?
Right. Just trying to be efficient and being on the same page with his wideouts. I think the wind affected some of his throws. Otherwise, he would have had a really beautiful day. And the entire Arkansas offense. I mean, you look at this and say, hey, this is a game where if Boyd is healthy, we establish our run game. We get some things going offensively. Now, I have no doubt that Ole Miss is going to try to throw some pressure at Felipe and put some pressure on that O-line, make them make quick decisions. So their hot routes are going to have to be very aware if they sense pressure, the tight ends or the slant guys or the slot guy like Devion Warren have got to have their hot routes, their hot reads ready to go. So if it's an offensive shootout, as many expect it could be, Arkansas has to be super efficient, and the turnovers will be magnified, the number of possessions you have. So something in my mind tells me everybody thinks this is going to be a shootout. However, both sides know the other's kind of offensive tendencies and philosophies. Maybe the defenses will be better prepared than we expect in this game.
Do you want to get into a shootout? I know that's Kendall Briles' DNA is hurry up, try to snap it with 27, 26, 28 on the play clock. Is that really what you want to do this week, or do you want to grind it out a little bit more, be a little more deliberate at the line of scrimmage? What do you think might work better against Ole Miss this week?
Well, if it's me, long, 12-play drives that wind up in touchdowns where you establish your run, wear out their defense would work just fine. I think they'll be prepared to do whatever they need to do, whatever pace they need to go. And certainly if they get out to some kind of lead, get a couple of turnovers, and hold a lead, that's when you really want to milk it. And then if you can extend the clock or shorten the clock and then finish extended drives with touchdowns, you really put a lot of pressure on them to take more chances. They get the ball out in space, y'all, as good as anybody. Matt Corral is going to put pressure on certain players. They're going to read somebody and either make a pass. Corral could keep it. They can run those sprint draws where you get the motion going one way and get to the back the other way, and you're peeling off, and you wall off your linebackers, and there's an open space. I saw that play against Bama numerous times. So they have a really nice offensive system that can score quickly, and so I would just say Arkansas will be prepared for any type of pace. But if they can establish Boyd and Smith, trade those guys out, be able to run the ball and finish drives with touchdowns, there'll be a ton of pressure on Ole Miss.
Tom Murphy with us on the Morning Rush. Tom, you bring up Matt Corral. Let's go back and look at what Arkansas did against quarterbacks this season. DeJuan Mathis didn't get anything going. Stetson Bennett came in and kind of solidified that offense, but he wasn't great by any means. KJ Costello throws 3 interceptions. You move on to Auburn. Bo Nix, I guess, had an okay game, but it's more Bigsby and that running back core. Looking at Corral, what is Arkansas going to do to try and contain him to the best of their ability this weekend?
Well, I cannot get into what the precise schemes may be, what personnel is available, and all those things. But you've got to be really disciplined, and if you're the guy who's going to have Matt Corral if he runs, you've got to stay true to that. They're going to do things. Nick Saban brought this up on the SEC teleconference just because whenever he has a little thorn in his side that bothers him, he'll talk about it, and it's this: lineman blocking downfield. So if I'm Arkansas, I make sure the officials are very aware. If you got linemen more than 3 yards downfield blocking, and then they end up throwing a pass out of it, the flag has to be thrown. Mm-hmm. And that's where they put a lot of pressure on officiating crews and on defenses, because you don't know sometimes when he's running down the line of scrimmage reading somebody whether or not he's going to keep or force a defender to come running up to contain him and then throw over that guy's head. They do a lot of replacement routes, as Sam Pittman mentioned, I think on Monday, where they run a receiver through an area and they want the cornerback to peel off and go with that receiver and then run a tight end or a back into that space behind them to get the ball in free space. And they've been able to do that very successfully. This is a lot of pressure on the Arkansas defense that's been down in numbers, and they've tackled great. They tackled great in the first 2 games, but on a wet field against Auburn, they did not tackle very well. And they're going to have to secure ball carries when they get the ball on Saturday.
Even when that lineman sneaks downfield and comes back behind the line and they throw that ball, that RPO, that you're right, that does put a lot of pressure on watching for that. So that will be something. Another place that Arkansas has got a lot of pressures is the special teams, and bless their hearts, the punt team is and punt protection has really been a problem. I don't know how much practice time they've had to work on that, but obviously Scott Fountain's got to fix some problems this week. What should we expect from special teams, Tom? Because that's been a place where they've been leaking oil for a while now. This week, you got to feel if this is going to be a close game, it may come down to special teams again.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And I think that's the total head-scratcher for them, is that Scott Fountain has been the coordinator there, and you expected things to be better. I don't know.
All we need is a coordinator on special teams. It'll get better with a coordinator. Yeah.
That's the word we heard. And I don't doubt that Scott Fountain is good at what he does. I don't know if someone missed an assignment that allowed Jordan Peters. Like Jonathan Marshall wasn't looking at Jordan Peters. He was looking inside, and Peters ran right by his right shoulder for that block. And I think if Jonathan sees him, no matter what his assignment might be, he'd peel off and get a shoulder into Peters. Because if he just gets a shoulder into him, that punt is not blocked. So it's just a matter of being true to your assignment. And as Sam Pittman put it, they're gonna try to freaking block every punt we have, and I get it. So they've got work to do, and it's not just that the botched hold on their first PAT became a point they wound up chasing the rest of the game. Now, they had a beautiful play to Trey Knox. Felipe Franks threw a little high. Knox tried to secure the pass, but he didn't. If they get those 2 points, it changes the complexion of the game some. So, special teams has not been good so far.
Yeah. All right, last one. Homecoming. It's going to be the oddest, weirdest homecoming atmosphere probably ever. What do you think it'll feel like on campus, where the weather's going to be perfect for a homecoming in October, but it's certainly going to be the strangest feel for a homecoming Saturday in Fayetteville we've ever experienced.
Yeah, it's going to really be weird. I'm assuming they're going to get the 16,500. The fans will try to be as loud as they can. The Arkansas marketing team, or whichever team is responsible for the volume in the stadium, will have it up to the 90 decibel maximum, whatever that might be. And, I thought it was a decent atmosphere in the first game. Certainly after huge plays, you don't hear the entire stadium-wide roars. Mississippi State, again, of course, violating the rules and having their cowbells. That was loud and pretty similar to what you'd expect at a Mississippi State game. Auburn, we were in a very contained environment in a wooden trailer at the end of the end zone, so it was tough to get a feel for what the actual crowd noise was. And of course, the rain tamped down everything. So every game so far has been a little strange in terms of the noise level, the players here. But I've heard the coaches on SEC teleconferences say the teams have not been able to create the exact same crowd noise, so it doesn't impact visiting teams as much. This is a case where you'd love Ole Miss to be distracted or confused by crowd noises, but you probably just cannot generate that much.
Tom, we appreciate it as always, man, and see you on Saturday, okay?
Sounds good. See y'all.
All right, good stuff from Tom Murphy.